I have been procrastinating on making this video for over a month now, as you can tell from the title. Our cat Oliver, who was just shy of being 18 and a half, passed away on October 1st, and I've just been processing a lot, and that's why there's been a lapse in videos. The only ones that I posted since then, 2 of them were already scheduled to go. They had been completely done for a while. And then the transformation video I posted, I pushed through not wanting to film because I know how much you guys love those videos, and realistically I figured there might not be another one until like the spring when flea market season's kind of going off again. It's hard when such a huge life change happens. I'm the kind of person who retreats inward and needs to think about things, and I don't really feel like being on camera and like presenting being happy when that's largely not the case. I'm not like extroverted or really outgoing, which sometimes people seem to think because I have a YouTube channel, but that could not be further from the truth. So I've just been taking time to just process things, and if you have been watching us for a long time now, then you know that in June of 2024, our other cat, Andy, who was also like 18, passed away. And I was just getting to a point with like my life where I wasn't really grieving that anymore. I didn't talk about it on camera or like show those ugly moments, but it was really hard, like, year without him. Yeah, it was not fun dealing with losing him and now Oliver. And Oliver was very unexpected with what happened, so I won't go into like all of the long story, but basically he had been somewhat constipated for like a week or 2, and that had happened like one other time, and I had just changed his diet and it had worked itself out. So at first I wasn't too concerned, but then he didn't want to eat breakfast on that morning, on October 1st, and that never happened in like all of the years that we had Oliver. He never skipped a meal. I mean, he was certified fatty. Like, he would eat non-food items. He was just always hungry. Like, he could eat dinner and then hear me go in the fridge and come back out for like thinking he was going to get a second dinner. So when that happened, we were really concerned, and Colleen took a half day from work, and I luckily finished work earlier in that day, and I just canceled my therapy appointment that was scheduled for later that afternoon, and we took him to the emergency vet, because anytime we've like tried to call the regular vet to get an appointment for one of the pets for like some kind of emergency, they always just like, go to the emergency vet. So we just went to the emergency vet, the same place we took our guinea pig Delilah about a year ago, because they were really amazing there. And the doctor wasn't concerned at all. She said that he was most likely just had chronic kidney disease, which in a cat his age, like, they pretty much all have that. And she talked about like the treatment plan that we would do, and we like paid the deposit on everything, and he needed some like blood work, a urine test, and just an x-ray to see how constipated he was, and everything seemed fine. His blood work came back with just some slightly elevated levels that would correlate with having chronic kidney disease. But when she went over the x-rays, they found cancer in his lungs. It wasn't lung cancer, it was like some kind of blood cancer, and there's a lot of blood that goes through your lungs, I guess, and you could see on the x-ray. And even the doctor was completely taken aback. She said she never expected to have to give us that news because his breathing was fine. So yeah, it was shocking to everybody. And we were given like 2 options: either euthanize him or take him home for palliative care, which is just like treating the pain and monitoring the symptoms. And as both my parents had cancer and our dog Skippy had cancer, and going through all of that, I didn't want Oliver to experience like any pain or any discomfort. He was always so happy, and he had lived such a charmed life, so I really didn't want to take him home only to have to bring him back in the near future, with him being in pain and not being able to breathe well. And Colleen completely agreed. We both felt the same way, so we had to have him euthanized that day. But he was a lot more comfortable by that point because they had managed to get him some of the back to poo out, and we were in the little room, and he was on his favorite spot in the whole world, which is my lap, and he was purring, and Oliver had the kind of purr that you could hear from across the room. So he was like in full cuddle mode, and they were able to give him the 2 injections while he was on my lap, and he went really fast. Like within seconds he was gone, and I mean it was sad, but also I was glad that like it wasn't this long drawn out process, because I've been in the room when people have died, and it is not pleasant. So I was glad that he didn't have to suffer, and he went quickly, and I guess it was kind of I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, but it was, I guess, better in the long run that we found out when we did that he had cancer, because again, I wouldn't have wanted him to suffer. So it's just been a lot to like process that, and I remember waking up that night and getting like a wave of panic, realizing that he was gone, and like not even being able to breathe because I was just so awful. I mean, I had both Andy and Oliver for like more than half my life. I mean, think of like how many things are relevant from your life still when you, like, from the time you're 15 to like 34. Like, how many things can you say haven't changed and are still relevant, you know? Like, it was amazing to have had them that long. And yeah, Oliver, he was sad after Andy died, and I think that that's probably why we missed some of the maybe tells that he was developing kidney disease because, you know, I had been really worried about him getting depressed and stuff, and he had some slightly strange behaviors that maybe were grieving, maybe were from the kidney disease. I don't know. It's easy to say in hindsight, oh, that was the kidney disease, but in the moment he definitely was struggling with like grief at points. But I know how much Oliver meant to some of you who watch my channel. He was definitely the famous one on the channel. So many people would tell me how much they loved seeing him in videos and would look forward to his little antics. He was just full of so much personality, and he would make you like him. He definitely had that way of like making someone who didn't like him fall completely in love with him. Colleen didn't like him when we first got him, and he climbed in her bed that night because he could tell she didn't like him. And my dad wasn't as into him as he was, as much as he liked Andy when we first got Oliver. And Oliver, I think I told this on the video where Andy passed away, but Oliver actually came into the bathroom. My dad was in there one morning and climbed into his pants, you know, while my dad was on the toilet. And my dad said after that he decided he really liked Oliver because it was just so ridiculous. And Andy didn't like Oliver at first, but Oliver was very persistent. And we had another cat at some point that like Andy was just so, he hated her so much, Matilda, that we couldn't keep her. Andy was just such a jealous cat that the fact that he ever even like remotely warmed up to Oliver, let alone became like best friends with him, was kind of a miracle in itself. Yeah, Oliver is just, he was amazing, and he was a naughty little bean when he was, like, for a large part of his life. He mellowed out a little bit the past few months, maybe from the unknown medical issue, or maybe just from grief, or just from getting older. I'm not really sure. When he was younger, like, he ate through so many pairs of my headphones. He was constantly, like, you couldn't leave any food around him. One time he even ate Colleen's salad that was on the table, and this was when, you know, after we became vegetarian, he literally started eating lettuce out of the bowl. Yeah, there's so many stories of him like getting into food he wasn't supposed to. I had these like chocolate Danish things on a pan that came out of the stove, and I walked out of the room, and he was on the stove when I came back in the room with the Danish in his mouth, trying to jump off the stove and leave with the Danish. And that was only a few years ago. I mean, Oliver was very naughty. I would have to like, I had to change how I stored the dry food because he would somehow figure out how to get into the pantry and would climb into the bag of food. He'd somehow get his whole fat self into the bag of food, and I would find him in there like a raccoon. Yeah, he was crazy. And I couldn't trust him with my dolls if they were out on the floor because he would nip and chew. And I'm pretty sure he ate my Ocean Friends Kyra's fanny pack that I had on the dining room table one day. That is the lore behind why that's missing. We're very sure that Oliver ate that. And he also brought his little mouse with catnip on the table at night, which they weren't allowed on the table, but at night apparently he would sneak up on the table, and I found it ripped open in the morning with all of this, it almost looks like marijuana, all over the table because he had spilled his catnip out of the toy. He was just, you never knew what to expect with him. He was such a ham, and he was a cat with many nicknames. So many people thought his name was Pooh Bear over the years because that was one of my favorite nicknames, but he had a ton of nicknames like Pumbaa, and some were made up words, like I'd call him Beano, and when he was younger I called him Simba and Andy Mufasa. I would talk to him in basically nonsense language, and he would like know what I was saying, and we'd have these conversations because he was very vocal. He was extremely vocal. I remember one time, I don't remember why my dad got mad at him, but he did something naughty and my dad scolded him, and Oliver ran downstairs to the basement and cried for like 15 minutes straight because my dad hurt his feelings. That was just the kind of cat he was. There was just this huge void in our lives where he was. I can't even, to like summarize what 18 and a half years of the Oliver was like in one video or one journal entry or even in a book would be very difficult, like impossible, because, you know, he was just woven into the fabric of my life. And it's been really weird going about the day and him not like coming to the door when I come home, or trotting down the hall when he hears me open the fridge, or, you know, climbing into the laundry basket when I'm doing laundry. He's just gone, and it's just so weird. And if you're wondering how our cat Quasimodo is doing, if you haven't watched in a while and you're confused, Quasimodo was Colleen's friend's cat, who we took in after Andy died because Oliver was lonely. I have shown him a lot in videos, but he, we got him strictly for Oliver. We actually didn't want another cat when we got him. So Quasimodo's been okay. He spent like the first 5 years of his life being completely on his own. There weren't any other pets at his other home. So he was, oh, he just walked by. He was a little confused the first few days because Oliver was like the one who ran the routine. And, you know, Oliver would always push Quasi away from his breakfast in the morning to finish it. So he was a little bit off the first few days, but he's been fine, just kind of like extra playful. So we're not planning on getting another cat or anything because it was a lot getting like him and Oliver situated, and if he's okay being alone, I don't want to like stress him out. Hi honey. Oh hi. Hi. What are you doing here? He doesn't like being picked up, but hi, say hi big boy. Yeah, he doesn't like being held. I did, when we came home with Oliver, because we were gonna bury him, I did show Quasimodo Oliver in the box he came home in before I buried him, just so he maybe would have an understanding. I did that when Andy died too. I showed Oliver and Andy, just, I don't know, so that maybe they could understand. Unfortunately, we don't exactly speak the same language, but he's been fine, and he has a lot of personality. He's been our grief counselor through this difficult time, and I'm so glad that like it kind of worked out that we got him for Oliver, but now he's here for us, and I don't know if you can hear him. I've never met a crazier cat, and we've had some crazy cats, including Oliver. I don't want to ramble on too long, but if you look through any catalog of our old videos, I mean, you're bound to see glimpses of Oliver or whole segments about Oliver. He was a part of this channel as much as my dolls, and I know you guys will miss him, and I just didn't want to show up and post videos and not address that he wasn't here or like randomly mention it, because like I said, he's been here since the beginning, and I know a lot of you appreciated the video about Andy, and I don't want this to be sad, but like unfortunately life is a lot of saying goodbye, and you know, we were lucky to have as much time with him as we did. We did not get so lucky with like other cats in the past, So I feel grateful to have had him for so long and that he got to be so happy and so loved. And yeah, he was my baby. He would climb in my lap, and you know how cats make bread. He wouldn't just do it with his front legs, he would do it with his back legs. He would like climb in my lap in the morning and like knead with his back legs too. He did some weird things with his legs. When he was going to have a drink, he would like paw outside like the floor by the water bowl, and yet he didn't know how to cover his own poop and pee in the litter box. He'd scratch outside the litter box. He was funny. He had like so many quirks and so many things that you guys never even got to see that like are just so funny and strange. I am going to try to get back into posting. I just didn't want to keep uploading videos with him being gone. I wanted to make sure to post this at some point. So I do have some other things in the works. If you ever do notice we're gone for a while and you want to see what we've been up to, I stay active on Flickr because I find taking pictures of the dolls and writing about the dolls very like cathartic and therapeutic, and it doesn't feel energy draining in the way that like making a video during that time does. I hope that makes sense. So we've been very active on Flickr still. Though I even fell behind with some of that stuff because it's honestly the month of October was just, there wasn't a single normal week. It wasn't just losing Oliver. There was just so many things that happened, and like just the coincidence of like when appointments were scheduled or when X, Y, and Z needed to be done or something coming up unexpectedly. So hopefully the rest of the year will be a little bit less chaotic. And I can get back into posting on Fridays again. I know this video will be coming out probably later than Friday because I'm filming it on Friday. So until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, love your life, and love your pets. I have so many photos of Oliver and Andy, hundreds from over the years, but these are just some of them that were on my desktop computer that I could add. Some of them are older, and you can see Oliver in the chair. There's so many pictures of me and Oliver on this particular kitchen stool over the years, but he loved laps and showing his belly and sleeping and going on our beds or climbing on our dolls, as you'll see in a lot of these pictures, and there's some good ones of Andy in here too. But he was just so special, and he will be so missed, and it feels so odd that I'm not gonna see him lounging around the house, or when I film a video he won't come trouncing into the room because he for some reason always knew when I was filming and wanted to be on camera. But I'm really glad to have so many pictures and video clips to look back at to remember him in detail, because you know, back in the day we didn't have so many ways of documenting the pets, and it's nice to truly be able to remember him like this. So I hope you guys enjoyed some of these pictures. I have way more